Okay, so let's see. Locus of control. I like how you said, Asa, how, like I mentioned, that locus of control kind of leads you right into the choices. The choices, you know, you have the ability to start making better choices. Just like, let's see, L, you had mentioned something about relates to what you choose to do, and then you had to make some sacrifices. What was that about? Might you elaborate on?
My personal sacrifices that I had to make?
On your choices.
Oh, well, I talked about hula, and I trained for my monarch for a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
But my senior year in college, I had to tell my kumu that I had to stop because I wouldn't have been able to make up the time for student teaching. So I kind of take a break.
I remember when I did mention to Kumo, I need to step off because there were three major things in my life: my home, my hula, and my medicine. And I had a borderline personality roommate. She was making my life really a living hell. So that was falling apart. Medicine was falling apart, and it was completely affecting my hula. So the only one that was indispensable, the only one that was dispensable was my flexibility was in hula. So when I did mention to Kumu Lake that I needed to sort of step back, take a couple steps back, he said, you know, it would still be here after all that. Did you wave your hand there, Wahilo? Oh, you're waving to somebody else. It's okay. It's just.
I was telling my mom hi. Sorry.
Tell her we all say hi. She can jump in the class. Okay. Let's see. So, Wahilo, since you're on, what were some of the other things that sort of jumped out at you from the last class?
That video that we watched.
Oh, wasn't that so cute?
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
There was a lot of, anybody else on regarding those forest kindergartens, anybody else have any ideas on those, on what that was about, or any questions?
There's this teacher at my school, he's from Norway.
Oh, really?
I asked him about it, and he said that it started after him, but he has relatives who do that forest kindergarten, and they really like it.
Any concerns?
He said, he asked him liability, and he said, well, it's not the United States. So that was his answer.
Does anybody know the word? Christina, what is the word that we worry about in the United States? Not liability, but what people are, what's their characteristic, we say, in the United States?
People who are, I would say like lawsuit?
No, like litigious.
Oh,
litigious is the word. It's a good SAT term. You can share what you do. Litigious means they just always want to litigate issues. They always want to litigate issues. The one thing I think it provides us, because many people are saying liability is really interesting. So there's a big liability in the DOE that says you can't take your kids to water. You can't take them to the beach. And when the immersion schools were set up, you had mentioned, Asa, Punana Leo. Punana Leo is the preschool version. Kulakau Puni is the K-12 version, right? Punana Leo is private. The immersion school is K-12. When everybody said, what? You can't take kids to the beach. That's ridiculous. And so they take them to the beach. I mean, they always go to the beach. They always go to the swimming holes. They always go to, it's the liability is around water. Kids get hurt, they drown, you know. It's a huge risk, but it's the risk you have to take. And one of the things we used to, that was common in medicine is this, because everybody has to carry malpractice law, malpractice insurance, is as long as you have a really sincere and deep relationship with your patients. As teachers, you have deep, meaningful relationships with your students and their parents. The risk is typically, okay, you shouldn't lose sleep over it. Never be unduly risky, but that you're not going to be hit by lawsuits like you would if you're a jerk, literally a jerk. Because it's, in the case of those forest schools, there's another video that I didn't show you from Japan. I spent an inordinate amount of time accumulating just these few interesting video ideas. They tend to be short, 4 or 5 minutes. Afterwards, I'll post them so you can just look at it. Now, I know you guys are busy, but some of them are cool. But one's about a Japanese school. It's just the kids, there's no boundaries. The kids just run all over the place. They run. And there's learning involved there. And they climb and jump. And it just wouldn't be something the United States would be comfortable with. But that forest school does something that we can't typically do when we have everybody fit in the Western set, industrialized, induced, sit all together, everybody follow directions. Here's a cute little picture I'm going to send you in my, how do I do it? Oh, my chat screen. I think you guys will be able to see this. Let me see. Can you guys see that picture? I hope so. I wonder if I have it anywhere else. If not, did you guys see it? Does it come up on your So that basically, it's a big message about, to me, it fits this nature school. You let the kids go out and with their own special skills, some are feelers, some are listeners, some are seers, some just dive into it, that everybody is different. And you let them all experience it in the way, and that's what's going to grow their brain. Now, one of you had mentioned, see if I can come across it, Forest School's nature-centric, that there was, somebody said place-based learning. Okay, I don't quite see it. Oh, the one thing I might have mentioned that you had said, Lydia, what I liked you had done, Lydia, was you combined the idea of this forest school with the proverbs we had relating to the land is the chief, so we're sort of treating the land as part of our teaching, and that we have a symbiotic relationship, I believe was the word you used, where we malama ka aina and the aina malamas us. But also, so that was, and all in that one little statement you mentioned about forest schools, then you mentioned about makahana ka ike, and that's exactly what the kids are doing. Nobody's structuring their lessons per se. You try to keep them safe in their boundaries, and then, but when we try to start narrowing them into that space, it very much reminds me of that little picture that I came across. I said that we have to let everybody do their own special way. And just because they can't do it the way we want them to do it in the time frame we want them to do it, doesn't mean they're any less able to do things. Let's see, there's a couple things that really resonated with me reading from you guys. When you had said, El, that you had made that sacrifice for hula. Nainoa, you had commented about that. What did that, do you remember your comment when she had said, or shall I speak on your behalf?
No, I just applauded her because that's tough.
Yeah.
To sacrifice not going marry monarch. It's pretty prestigious to say no to that.
Yeah, not only that, but it's a commitment to a kind of a family. It's hard to say no to your family. Your halau is family, you know. They are going to back you up. You want to back them up. You've all done this together. You all paddled this canoe together. And now you're saying, hey, you know what? I have to step off the canoe. It's a tough thing to do. But you would also mention, the one thing that you mentioned, I'm going to bring it up now, primarily is because it's going to show up again later in our discussion, if I can remember, is that your choices that you're making really do reflect on your family, whoever that family is. I many times, because I stepped here into Kumu Lake's position, I feel like I'm trying to represent him, or that when people see me or when I teach, they, you know, hula or chanting or Hawaiian language, that I'm sort of representing him as a student. But I'm doing it my own particular way. But it does reflect back to our families, our choices. And that is something that resonates in when we're talking about, when we go to Manu Meyer's readings. This is some of the interesting things. Lydia, you had said that the forest, what was your take on the forest, Lydia? Oh, I mentioned some. You also mentioned that self-sufficient. I thought that was kind of cool, the way you'd taken that. And it was all hands-on, which you had mentioned makahana ka ike. Let's see. Oh, one thing. Asa, I'm going to come at you right here. You said you made mention in your commentary about the Proverbs and their intent. What were the intents of the Proverbs?
In the Proverbs in this course?
Mm-hmm.
To show us that the language is power, and all these different ways that we use the language shows us different teaching abilities or power that is passed through the olelo. Yeah, so we had, I think, 12. Did somebody count them? There's about, I think, Auntie Mary Kabenapukui, there's about 1,200 of them. But the ones that I could say, hey, this totally rings in my head, these are the ones I could constantly
lay down in front of the kids and say, hey, this is what your great-great-great-grandparents might have said, or this is what, I always say, when the kids are Hawaiian, I could really tag them that way. I could say, your great-great-great-grandparents. But if they're not Hawaiian, you could still say, hey, one of the proverbs of this place that people have lived under, this idea is that we take care of the land takes care of us. Here's this proverb to sort of articulate it. It's that authenticity. Is one of the main, it's authentic, they're sort of valuable and applicable and relevant as long as we use them in the relevant situations. I see a lot of people, they just throw them out there in a vacuum and they don't stick. They don't stick that way very well. But when you're finding the situation, when you're looking at a kid and he says, hey, I could offer that proverb, and it isn't me lecturing them, it's their kupuna that is lecturing them. Let's see. I think, there's one thing you used the locus of control, Asa, again on, you said locus of control leads to empowerment and or kind of victimhood, which is based upon your choices. And you counseled somebody about that. Can you tell us about that? Do you remember? I could give you.
Was it that girl who
yes.
made choices?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this girl, she was mentioned in a conversation with other teachers because she always hangs around with this other girl that's always getting in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her that, people judge you by the company you keep, and just by associating with the girl who's got a bad reputation, she's making her reputation bad. And so I told her she has a choice to either fix that girl, or she has a choice and become a leader, or choose new friends. And it's her choice to make her reputation her own, but she can't just follow somebody else.
Yeah, those are very strong words, and I know that Wahilo was kind of backing you up on that idea. That's a tough thing to say because sometimes this might be their best friend. I remember vividly, I don't know, I probably was smoking cigarettes from about maybe 14 or 15. And I had my two best friends in high school when I was about 16 or 17. I remember we were best friends in high school, and we were hanging out one day, and I popped out a cigarette, and they both just looked at me so curious. Why do you smoke? And it was amazing how that peer pressure, just the way they looked at me, made me go home and say, yeah, what the hell am I doing? These cigarettes, by the way, were an incredible, I don't know if you know what cigarettes cost. Anybody here smoke? They cost 99 cents for 2 packs. Marlboro Bogs, that's what I used to smoke. And then once they went up from that, I said, that's way too expensive. Now there's something like $5 or $6 a pack. It's incredible. I don't know how.
I like $10.
Really? Is that what they cost? That's crazy. But the amazing thing was, I remember when I woke up on my 17th birthday, I just told myself, hey, happy birthday. You're a non-smoker. I just felt like it was time. It was time. In fact, at that 17th birthday, I started looking at things differently. It wasn't, I'm not going to do bad things for me. It's everything that I do. If it's not good, then let's not do it anymore, including who I was hanging around. So when I quit smoking Pakalolo, it was really funny. I was still hanging around the same friends, and they would still hand me the doobie when it goes around the circle. Okay, I said, okay, cool. They consider me in, but I just quit. I was just done. I was done with it. I did everything I wanted to do. I wanted to go to a concert stoned. I wanted to go to the beach stoned. I just wanted to do all that, and I was done. I said, okay, after that, it's just a habit. But still, I'd say up to about 10 years after I quit, I'd have friends call me and say, hey, guess what? I quit. Oh, wow, that's cool, bro. That's super, save money or whatever, But it was just that idea, like your friend there, your student, Asa, where sometimes you just got to make your path and people will follow you, and then make sure that they're not pulling you down. In fact, that's a really good story that I wasn't anticipating this story. But did I guys tell you the story of Ama crab? Sorry, the Alamihi crab. So there's a time when you could weave a nice big basket, and you can weave a lid for it, of course. And then you take this basket and you go down to the beach and you gather all this Alamihi crab. You just gather it. You fill up your basket full. But then you realize, oh my gosh, the lid is way over there. I got to go get the lid. And then and then get this bug. So I run off to go get the lid, and I come back and I look at my basket, and what do I see?
The crabs are gone.
The crabs are what? I'm sorry?
Gone.
Are gone. The basket is full. Why?
They pull each other down.
They pull each other down, dead on. And that is that syndrome of the Alamihi crab. People are trying to get out of this situation, trying to get out of this trapped scenario, trying to get out of this place that goes nowhere, but others will pull them down. It's just a sort of an idea that reminded me of your student who maybe wants to move out of that basket, but their friends will and maybe end up pulling you out. You have to be aware of it. So rather than tell, hey, your friends are pulling you down, you say, hey, I got a story about a crab, you know? And you do it Socratically like this. You do it Socratically, which also reminded me, Christina, that you had mentioned that in your write-up that, let me write that down, that you may reapproach your mana circle. Why would that be? Why do you think that's necessary with your students? You would approach it once with your students. What's going to happen now?
Well, I wasn't really being intentful when I first introduced it. It was kind of like one of those things. I was like, oh, I learned this cool thing. Let me teach you now. But now that I have like a sense of direction or like a purpose with it, I think even more so I want to reintroduce it, and I want it to do the Socratic method to make it theirs, not to make it mine, but to make it theirs.
That's funny. So I remember I just learned about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Has anybody never heard this idea before, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Is this new to anybody?
No.
Okay, so I'll write the Maslow's. So I said, wow, this is fascinating. So I just started teaching Kumu Lake's class because he was sick, off and on sick. So I'm teaching the class. I said, I'm going to introduce this. Hawaiian religion and storytelling is the class. So I get up there, and right when I'm ready to start teaching Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Kumu Lake rolls in the wheelchair. And so whenever he rolls in on the class, I look at my board and go, oh my gosh, is this, Nana Ike Kumu? As he rolls in the door, and I look at my board, I says, have I made anything up that I don't want him to know that I just made up? Like the mana circle one time. He gave me the big hug and the thumbs up on the mana circle. So when he did that, I says, okay, I feel good. So I did my Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And then afterwards, I said, so how, afterwards we're both walking out together, all the students stuff. I said, Kumu, so how was class? He says, it was really good. What was up with Maslow's? So kind of like I didn't do it intentfully, like you were saying with the mana circle. So I had to think of a reason why I did Maslow's in this class. And I said, Kumu, because Maslow's hierarchy of needs, when it comes to the storytelling component, you have to know your audience when you're talking your story, because if they're low on Maslow's, they're not going to get any of the abstraction. They're going to be all linear. So you have to know where your audience is in the Maslow's in order to tell a story that will make the difference to them. He goes, oh, okay. Whew. So I got the vote of approval on that one. So yeah, I was just curious about that because you did mention it. Lydia, you said something that was very interesting regarding, I'm sorry, I'm really jumping around, but you guys said so many cool things. Was we are what we repeatedly do. I like that idea. It sort of made sense. It doesn't quite fit in the choices, but it is definitely something that maybe somewhere I got to stick that in my choices listings, and self-reflection. All right, guys. So let's move away from this. Let me see. Oh wait, I'm sorry, Elle. You said something really interesting. When it came to the forest schools, Elle, you had mentioned that we need to be in touch with the land. But the wilderness is not the mainstream. Do you remember saying something like that? These wilderness schools are definitely not mainstream.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a cool way to learn, but that's just not like a normal classroom that you see.
Yeah, it's definitely not. The question becomes, I think all of us are wrestling with throughout this 10-week class, is what are other ways of viewing this? Can we do this? Do you think we could do forest schools with high schoolers every day running around? It's really it's about their learning levels. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say maybe it doesn't even have to be like all day. It could be like in the morning or in the afternoon. Like you don't have to do the entire day in the forest.
Yeah. I would say that at the younger ages, maybe there's some of them, if you look at both of them, there's one where it's freezing cold. Every day, all day is the forest. And you had mentioned, Noah, how they're going to matriculate into a regular school, because they don't do that all the way through primary school. In fact, I think right now, currently, the system is all kindergartners. When you go into first grade, you have the more mainstream systems. And they asked the teacher in that second video, did anybody watch this? I think one of you watched it. Asa, did you watch this, both videos? Do you remember that? Correct me if I'm wrong. They said, how are those the kids that are coming from mainstream school and kids coming from forest kindergarten, are they having any difficulties blending in? And do you remember when they asked that question?
Yeah, the teacher they asked, she even said that she teaches a regular classroom for first grade or whatever, and she sent her own kid to a forest
school. Yeah.
And she said that you can't tell the difference when the kids come to class. So.
It makes me want to be a kindergarten teacher, but I'd be the one climbing up in the tree. Come on, you can climb higher, man. Come on, you can get higher. Come up here with Uncle. Okay, so I'm all good with that. Let's move on. Let's see. I'll give you guys a choice. No, we better. Okay, we're going to knock out the work. The work is in the reading. I'm glad that last bit of reading is a little easier. It's in the middle of her reading, of her writings, that it's difficult to work our way through. Anybody have a take-home message from the readings? Let me see. Asa, I got so much notes on you, Asa. I'm going to attack you on this one. Something about the interviews. What did Manu say about the interviews? Do you remember? Oh, as you're reading up? She found the interviews. Does anybody know what Manu was saying? Miss Meyer, Dr. Myers, what she was saying about her interviews? As Elle disappeared right there. Did you guys just see her disappear? I don't see Elle on my screen.
I'm here.
Oh, I'm sorry, you are. No, who disappeared? Was
Fahilo.
Oh, what? You guys, it's like all the screens move around when that happens. Thanks, Al. So what you were saying, Asa, was she had found the interviews awkward and difficult. And what was that awkwardness and difficulty from?
She talked about that the whole project was a Western. It was a Western type project, and she was trying to conduct it in a regular Western way, but it really wasn't coming across when she was trying to learn about Hawaiian epistemology, but doing it in a non-Hawaiian fashion. So it was awkward asking questions, and when that probably wasn't the way that you would get knowledge from somebody. You wouldn't just straight up ask them. You'd have to watch and learn and practice before getting that knowledge.
That is very difficult. Oftentimes the metaphor that they would use is, it's like you're trying to describe oil while being immersed in water. It just sometimes doesn't mix. And I think Nainoa, all through the readings, was always saying there seems to be a little bit of bias involved, which is absolutely true. Having a bias while doing research, hey, welcome back.
Sorry.
Having a bias while doing research doesn't make your research invalid. Disclosing it like a conflict of interest is disclosed. Like if I were a legislator and I was passing a law that said to raise my pay, that's a clear conflict of interest. But I want to disclose my conflict of interest, but I'm not looking at it. I'm trying my best not to look at it as it benefits me. I'm saying, is it legitimate? Are we consistent with other legislatures? That kind of conflict of interest, once disclosed, doesn't make you not biased. It says, I'm trying to lay my bias out there so you can look at everything based upon my bias. Same with her in this closing chapter. She makes it very clear. There's a huge bias. I think Nainoa several lectures ago pointed it straight out. Wait a minute, you interviewed all your friends or your teachers. You're never going to say they're wrong. You're never going to challenge what it is they're saying. which is typically what you want to do in research, Western research. And that's that oil-water incongruity that she's trying to come from. It was Harvard is where she did her PhD dissertation, that got her PhD from. So they have a very structured system that you have to, you really have to pay attention to, because what it does is it allows you to coordinate stronger, more, and increase the validity of your research outcomes. But she struggled with it, as she had said. Up front, lay my bias out. These are my mentors. These are my teachers. These are respected leaders. So I don't challenge them. I just listen to them and process their information. Let's see. Nainoa, you were into empiricism. It was like, wow. Could you tell us a little bit about what you were going off on that idea of empiricism in this closing chapter, or these take-home messages you have?
I've never heard of the word before, so I just kind of like the presence of how it relates to experience, and how experience sometimes is more valuable than education, and sometimes. But
The word, at least for me, I mean, every time I see it, I have to go through my little checklist. Empirical means you do it. So empiricism means to have something that was done. So whenever I see empiricism, it's this idea of doing, because it's empirical. So you collect, when you're collecting data, that's empirical data. But what I liked is that where you had said that it really is about trial and error, and you went into this narrative that was fascinating. Gosh, I was like, I read it a couple times. I said, I don't have enough space in my little note block to put the things that I was getting out of it. You said something about trial and error. What did you mean there?
well, that was a while ago.
Yeah, by the way, yeah, you were, I think, the first one to note. You said basically in culture, and it really came from the very beginning, we learn by doing. We don't learn by theoretically analyzing, and it's not mathematical or quantum physics. This is about learn by doing. You're going to do it right, or you're going to do it wrong. Sometimes you're going to live when you do it right. Sometimes you're going to die when you do it wrong. It's really lessons right on the right in your face, in a culture that's trying to sustain itself, in a canoe where we're trying to travel. When you make a mistake, there are going to be consequences. You learn quickly because the outcomes are going to be dire oftentimes. I like that duality. You can, oftentimes it was a pass-fail. You made that mention again. Life and death, how you set up your battle plan. I like the battle metaphors, combat metaphors. But there was another, it isn't about seeing how successful certain battle tactics are. There is we had mentioned on even day one, a sort of a spirituality. Certain things are done given certain signs. Certain things are done given certain customs. Certain things are done done certain ways and not other ways. We fish certain times of the year. We don't have battle under certain rainbows. You know, we don't have war in the Makahiki season. So there's a lot of influences. But in the end, when you're talking about really gut elements, pass, fail, trial, error, life, death, does shape culture. And that's where, that was your sort of take home. No hana was wasted. I like that when you said that. Let's see, the other thing was, let's see, we had the challenge. What was the challenge that Manu was facing, El? Do you remember what you were saying there? El, do you remember what you were saying?
No, but I can.
Okay, so you had said that the challenge was recreating what was damaged, the identity, the Hawaiian identity was damaged. What would be the solution? That's a big challenge.
Are you asking me to answer?
Yeah, I mean, what would you actually mentioned it in one of the systems?
I mean, I don't know if there's like a for sure solution, but I mean, I don't.
Oh, yeah, I put it as a solution. But if we want to recreate what was damaged, and how are we going to effectuate that repair?
I don't. I don't know.
Well, what are the things you had mentioned that both you and Wahilo sort of touched on is that we need to develop somewhat of a new Hawaiian educational system, because what Manu had concluded in the end of this work was what did all her and what did she call them, her advisors or her interviewees, what was their final conclusion that she made? Let's see. Asa, you had mentioned it. Wahilo, you had mentioned it.
You can't teach Hawaii, or it won't fit into the regular school system. That it's not.
But so therefore we
have to do both, or
we have a dual educational system, and it's okay. Just like the forest school and the regular Western school, it's okay to somehow, as we even might have suggested, the idea is not to just blow another idea away. That we do have this Hawaiian way. And that Wahilo, you had mentioned that there's time, you need to have the time for sort of these Hawaiianness in school systems, and that we value both of them. I think that was her closing sort of remarks, that we want to sort of value both of them. Place-based, Lydia, you had mentioned also that that we have place-based learning from who?
Sorry, say that one more time.
You said that in this idea that we're talking in this recent chapter, and actually the chapter right before, that we have place-based, we're going to do this place-based learning to learn from who?
The community.
Definitely the community. Who in the community?
Our ancestors.
Yeah.
Yeah. You had mentioned specifically, one of the few, that we're really learning from our elders. What we're coming out of in traditional times was you guys would all be the workers in the community. And me too. I think we're all basically in that age range. We're all the workers and baby makers. The kupuna are the ones that are doing all the teaching, because we got enough of the youth out there making babies and tending to the fields, doing all the fishing, carving all the canoes. The kupuna are the ones that are going to do that. They're going to be the ones that take the babies. They're going to be the ones to raise them. They have the immense vocabulary. As Nainoa had said, intellect was not a number. It was an age. So if the most intellectual are the elders, as you had said, Lydia, that we want to learn about place and the elders from that place, that was how society was. Society was the younger or the regular adults were out working. All the kupuna were taking care of kids, doing all the storytelling, passing all the cultural depth of knowledge in that process. We have completely lost all that. We have completely, I know a number of you said, we need to move back to start treasuring the knowledge of our kupuna, the place that our kupuna had in our society, and all societies. I use kupuna, but all societies. All societies. We don't value them because we now completely try to be, as young adults or as adults, try to be self-sufficient. We will raise our own kids. We will hire daycare. Hell, our parents will do their own thing. They start traveling the world, or whatever. But that whole interconnection of, they have the knowledge, the elder knowledge, and they speak. They tend to be more patient. They're more patient with kids. They are the ideal nurturers of the children in many cases. So let's see, what is a couple of things we want to talk on? Lydia, you had mentioned, okay, I'm going to catch you. We talked about nature-centric, and I know that we did nature-centric on the previous discussion. You mentioned, Lydia, something about nature-centric and using your senses. She used to use this word that bothered me every time I read it. She called it sensual. And I remember I used it in a speech, but what I meant by sensual was the use of senses. And Manu uses sensual all over the book. And to me, it sort of had this sensual context. But the term that I learned in medical school was sensorial, the use of all your senses. And nature-centric, as you had mentioned, Lydia, and yours, it is all about the use of senses. and that you also said something about feeling is intuition and awareness, or awareness and intuition, actually. Do you remember saying that, Lydia? I got to catch you guys earlier, so you guys.
Yeah, no, I don't remember what I wrote.
Okay, you guys write some deep stuff, and then it probably flies right out of your head when you're done. That intention and awareness, you said that this feeling, which is part of the learning, right? You want to elaborate, or you want me to elaborate on?
Gosh, I'm sorry. I'm rereading what I wrote to remind myself.
There's probably, if you're looking online, I got it underlined, or I might have had it underlined. I was kind of running short on time.
Actually,
You mentioned that it's your feelings as part of knowing is based also in that there's ways of learning, but that feeling is also another way to sense and to know.
Yeah, that's what Meyer was talking about. So I had it in quotes.
Yeah. Intuition and awareness. And then it was awareness of, you mentioned?
Surroundings.
Your place, your history, and genealogy, which is exactly what Asa had said. Asa, when you had sensed that these interviews were very much tied to the people in their places and their families, and that led to understanding their place, their genealogy, which led to their understanding. I think all of this, the way she was tying it together, the way that it tied with this class, I thought was pretty, not seamless, but definitely was definitely something that sort of converged in at this point, that we all understand there's a significance to place, family, and what are we essentially talking about when we talk about place and family?
I know.
Monocircle.
Yeah, definitely can be. And so let's stop just for a sec. Just put that in place because we'll work on that in a bit. Now, let's move to okay. We'll do the extra credit last. I think there's some cool stuff there. Let me see. Extra. I want to show you guys one thing. I'm going to send you this. It's about 3 minutes. It's variable value, but just take a look at it and tell me what you think. Right before the class, I found a better one. Can you take a look at this video right here? We have a child that is having a problem. It kind of goes on and on and on and on. If you guys have done plumbing, you've seen similar situations like this before. No former plumbers in the room, I think. Huh? Okay, tell me when it's over. Is it over? Okay. What's the solution, guys?
Push them through.
What's that?
just push them through, turn his shoulders and push them through.
Ah.
Well, I was thinking like heating up the pipes like a little bit, like with friction, and then like using like a little bit of that heat to bend the pipe a little bit.
And that probably would have been something. I take a look at that. Oops, wait, hold on. I got to do it again. That's weird. Try to look at that one. It's only about 10 seconds or 15 seconds. And the solution is?
Graças a Deus que a boca não tá apertando. Pessoal, depois. É uma questão difícil. É questão difícil. Ó, a cabeça realmente não entra. Vocês tentaram abrir, então.
All right. There you go. I remember the first time I was so frustrated. I'm going, man, I would have tried all those solutions. My take-home message from this silly little thing is that sometimes you need to know the history of the problem. How did this problem come about? On that, let's can we all jump to our Kolohe Keiki problem? No. Okay, that's our problem. Let's talk about our extra credit problems. Okay, I know not everybody did it, but tell me about the extra credit. I want you to hold off, Asa, because I think Asa, actually Christina, you guys are, a lot of you guys. Elle, tell me about that extra credit. There were two things, right?
The first one was South Park.
It's killing me. South Park is killing me. Tell me about it, Elle.
It was about one boy who was like being angry, and then he had to be sent back to his motherland, and they had to like do a ceremony.
Yeah. Tell me, what was your take on it, South Park there, Mr. Nainoa? It was a little confusing. I was reading it with you. I was going with you. I said, I get it. It's kind of, what was your take-home message?
I mean, after taking this class, I got a new perspective on it, but like kind of just used to it. That's kind of how they portray what Hawaii is. But like I was saying, though, someone influenced that writing of the episode, because there's a lot of things that it's exclusive to local people.
Christina did incredible research. Like, she was throwing stuff. I said, really? Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Christina was, I don't know if you had read what she had written. Tell us what you know about it, Christina.
Trey Parker has a home in Kapa'a. So a lot of like the things that he highlights in the episode itself, like, is like spot on to like the location to where he's at, like where Butters meets the king, who's Elvis. He meets him at Coco Palms. They go to eat poke at Safeway in Kapa'a.
By the way, I'm laughing because it's comic genius. But tell us, what's the relevance that I'm showing you this, showing this stuff? Somebody throw something out there that makes it relevant to this class.
The cultural iceberg.
It's definitely the cultural iceberg. But why is this a problem?
Because they're just showing things that, you see in movies and TVs, and it's just the tip of the iceberg, but that's not really what Hawaii's like.
It really isn't. Any other? I'm going to go to Asa last, because Asa's going to wrap this baby up in a nice nutshell here. Any other ideas? Iceberg? A lot of you mentioned iceberg. I know you mentioned iceberg. Christina mentioned iceberg. Any other ideas? Is that the problem? The fact that it's all superficial?
It's super superficial.
It's super superficial.
Really?
It's satire. That's what it is. It's really satire. And in a way, people don't particularly believe. By the way, Coco Palms is getting all refurbished now. That would have been a great little sneak in. I wish I would have thought about it. I love sneaking in these dilapidated places, but that's where the king wanders. Tell us what your take-home message, Mr. Asa. South Park.
now I got a lot of pressure out of. I
Well,
think
just-
the iceberg was talking about how people in the continent of the United States, they might see the top as what they know from movies, TV shows, and then they get to Hawaii and then they start seeing the things that are around and they just assume like that's the real Hawaii. My ka'i cards or Kama'aina
Wow.
discount.
Hard.
And
So funny. I was laughing so hard at it, but it's not funny. What's not the funny part about this?
that they still don't know. Even when they get here, they still don't know what is the real Hawaii, and that's the part that's below the water, that the true Hawaii, the authentic Hawaii. And they still go back and they tell everyone how Hawaiian they are with their new bone hook necklace and coconut postcards or whatever, and now they're true Hawaiians. So.
Wahilo, why was there I sensed in your writing there was sort of like this irritation involved there. What was happening with that?
I don't know. It wasn't. I wouldn't say really irritated. I was just really like trying to figure out what it was that they were trying to do. Like,
And you said our kupuna, they wouldn't agree with it. Why wouldn't they agree with it?
just because of how it was made. Like, they would probably most likely think of it as making fun, for sure.
Yeah, I really think so. And the sense I got from Asa's writing, and a bit from yours, but I know you were having problems articulating it, and Christina, was the fact that this isn't really about, it's more than just being the tip of the iceberg. What's happening is they are implanting or co-opting cultural ideas. They're taking it and they're saying, this is what Hawaii is. And they're just off base, and they call it, another word is, like you could say, it's cultural co-opting or cultural appropriation. They're going to now, because they've had a timeshare for the last 5 years, we're Kama'aina, we want to now define what Kama'aina means. And even though it was satire, what it's saying is, if we don't understand what this is, these people will begin to define it for us. You'll have people in Kauai say, oh, I'm Hawaiian. After all, Hawaiian, I was born in Hawaii, I'm Hawaiian. And this is traditional, you know, golfing, attacking the cruise ship with golf balls. All of that was just ridiculous. But in a sense, when we step back and look at it, oh, I'm Kama'aina and I got my mahalo card. The first thing that popped in my head is my ka'i card, which it was just hysterically wrong in that way. But as long as you recognize it's South Park, it's not real. But it was close enough, and I didn't know how they did it, just like Nainoa said. Somebody on the inside knows this stuff. Apparently Trey Parker, according to Christina, knows just enough to start saying things that really expose that maybe there is this ceremony, this hapa nui, hapa loa, hapa whatever they call it. It's sort of making fun of the entire cultural idea. And South Park is, you got to give them credit for being able to do it skillfully, but at the same time, we want to make sure that before too much cultural appropriation, we're just going to appropriate the culture, that we're going to understand what we're giving up while we do it. What about that quiz? Anybody have a take home on that quiz? What was that quiz about? Asa last, please. Asa, I'm going to have you wrap this up again. Did you read my comment on yours? You did? Okay. So what was up with that quiz?
Just local foods.
Certainly. Is that it? 100%.
Yeah, I confirmed everything that I already knew.
That you already knew? So
yeah, I knew I was 100% Hawaiian.
And then, but if Kamehameha took the quiz, I asked some of you guys, I don't know if you saw that comment. If Kamehameha took the quiz, what would he have gotten?
Fail.
Probably wouldn't have failed. I mean, he would have recognized poi, most certainly. He would have recognized haupia, most certainly. We already know lomi salmon isn't anything that he would have had at his table, because there was no salmon, there was no onion, there was no tomato. So lomi salmon is out of the picture, right? Which is one of them. And by the way, doesn't that look like corned beef and cabbage rather than Kalua pig when I was looking at it? So the idea is, what are we saying here? What's the purpose of the survey? Why would I hand it to you guys? Because once again, it's just cultural co-option. They're going to tell you what Native Hawaiian is. Really? Really? You're going to do that? No. No, Native Hawaiian isn't going to be based upon these food groups. Some of you said that. You know, that it's, yes, it does say local, but let's be clear that, you know, I'm going to, oh, by the way, I kind of tripped on that. I said, you know, I don't know what that drink was. So I changed my answer because I thought, well, the closest Hawaiian is Mai Tai, right? Because it comes from Mai Kai. So they just called it Mai Tai. And so I got 100%. I said, well, somebody else said daiquiri. So I went and took the quiz again. I put daiquiri. I got 100%. I went and did half of them wrong. I got 100%.
Wow.
So even if you don't know, it's going to declare you are true Native Hawaiian. I think that was the word. And I'm not trying to be politically correct, but people out there will start redefining what this is, right? This is something we should have done. I didn't catch this until more recently, like last week. I'm saying, what is this crap? I got to show it to you guys and see how you guys eat this up. And then, and that South Park, it fell offline. I couldn't give it to you guys when we first did this iceberg, but then it came back online. So I said, I'll try to push it at you guys and get a take on it. So let's, I think what I really, and that was the whole purpose, that whole idea that it's out there, that it's our job to try to nanai ke kumu and maintain this authenticity about our culture. And look at the people that are trying to redefine that what Hawaii is about. It's about a misbehaving little child that needs the Hapa Nui Hapa Loa ceremony. What the hell? So funny. It was completely hysterical, but at the same time, it is concerning because some people will buy it. Some people are that dumb. Let's talk about our kid. Can you guys jump on the Kalohi Keiki page and tell me something about this guy? 20 points. We better be very, very impressive about this kid. Tell me about him. Let me see. I'm going to click this page right here.
He's living with his grandmother now.
Okay. First age.
15.
He's 15. I think I accidentally called him 15. He's male. Kuya. Okay. And he lives with his grandmother. That's his situation.
And his siblings.
Okay. His tutu and siblings. Keep going.
Both of his parents are incarcerated.
Okay, so we're gonna say parents, no parents times 2 in jail.
He has friends now.
He has friends. Okay. Oh shoot, I'm not even in this shot. Let me rotate this so I'm not just freaking out. Okay. Okay, tell me more about it. Is that it?
Lives Papa Claire now. Moved to Papa.
So that's where he lives. He lives in his tutu. That's in Papa Claire. I think you guys know what Papa Claire is?
Yeah.
Homestead.
Yeah.
It's a homestead land up there, right? By Punch Bowl. Any others? Interesting factoids?
He doesn't go to school anymore.
Let's see. There's some truancy in there.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. I'm down on that.
He might be in a gang.
His friends might be gangs. That is a bit of a concern. Maybe, sort of, kind of, yes. Probably yes. Okay, anything else?
He takes care of his siblings.
Very important there. So he loses his parents, his siblings, he takes care of them. Or he sort of sees after them.
Yeah.
To some degree. He sort of sees after them.
He admits that he wants to see his mom.
Okay. There's some bonding. He's got some bonding with his mom.
His friends give him money.
Oh, gangs, friends, money. Any other interesting factoids about this kid? By the way, everybody, I thought, did outstanding. I don't want you to worry about this, but I do want us to evaluate this because this is a little bit of a worst case scenario, I think. I mean, some of you guys might have seen worse, but it's how we're going to attack this that I think is what is important. Is that everything?
Yeah.
Why is he truant?
Because he doesn't like to, he cannot wake up. He can't wake himself up.
He's truant, so he has problems waking up. Is that typical?
Yeah.
Very typical of an adolescent. So that isn't particularly abnormal. But he does go to school sometimes. What's the problem?
He makes sure his siblings go first, or is that?
Oh, he does take care of his siblings. He sends them to school, or he tries to make sure. What does that mean? I remember you mentioned that particularly, I know, and I think you did too, Mr. Asa. What does that mean? He sends his siblings to school, or anybody.
Responsibilities.
Yeah.
And not only making the kids do it, but he recognizes
the importance of them going.
that is kind of important. Goes to school. He recognizes there's a value to that effect. Okay? The fact that he goes late is a problem. It isn't that he isn't really going. It's just he doesn't seem to get up and rolling and he's late. He's on Hawaiian time, he says, right? As I read that. Okay, any other things?
He doesn't enjoy living at his grandma's house because of the added responsibilities.
Chores and kuleana. Because when he's at home, he has to take care of his siblings. There's chores when he's at home. Let's see. What did I see right over here? Oh, these aren't just friends. They are
Hawaiian bras.
These are Hawaiians. We got it. Now, I think we got everything done, right? School, we like Hawaiian bras, so he says. Okay, what are we doing, guys? By the way, in this situation, had you not ever seen this kid before, we need to rule out what? Just really fast. In his situation, we need to rule out any psych issues, right? There could be adjustment disorder. These are stuff. That's an adjustment disorder.
ODD.
Major depressive disorder, oppositional defiant disorder, ADHD. I don't mean to just start thinking all medically, but we just say, hey, maybe this kid doesn't want to go to school because he can't focus or can't concentrate. A lot of the cases of ADHD is a milk allergy, right? We don't need to put them on Ritalin. We just need to take them off dairy. But we should look at these things because this is what we do when we run into somebody that's in a critical situation. We also, in the psychosocial, we need to worry about what? In the home environment, like we worried last time. What did we worry about?
Drugs and abuse.
Yeah, drugs and abuse. All the drugs and all the abuse. Neglect, abandonment, sexual abuse, physical abuse, prescription drugs, illicit drugs. We got to rule all that out. I mean, not rule it out, but don't let that, if it turns out what he really has is major depression, then all of this could likely disappear if we just go right at that area or simultaneously approaches. So this is where you're looking for sources of these problems. What do you think we're going to do first? What are some of your guys' ideas for action? You guys came up with some good ones. This is the 20-pointer. I want to hear it.
Find a hobby for him. Keep him busy. Give him structure.
Okay. Yeah. Give him. What you're telling me is give him some hana structure though. somebody in your position, I would probably send him straight to you, and I know. In a way, he's in that age range where you got to put him in somebody that isn't, you guys got to be no nonsense with this kid. No nonsense. But understand that he could be, in many regards, he could be in an abusive situation. I had a student whose mother died when she was about 4, lived with her grandmother, was sexually abused by multiple uncles that lived in the house at the time. She now is super successful. She is totally internal locus. She got out of that house as soon as she was old enough. She admitted what happened and just moved forward, and now she absolutely runs a medical institution. She is rocking Mana. I swear. I tell her she's very impressive. Structure. What else, Mr. Nainoa? Activities like sports, hobbies, you were saying. I got it. What else, Vahilo?
Well, have him like draw his own mana circle and like.
Oh, here we go. Let's try it. Let's try this way. What was that noise? Was that my phone? Did you guys hear that thing? Oh, okay. Whenever I hear noises, I check my phone, I check my laptop. Okay. So we got his mana circle going right here. I know some of you were going to talk to him about it. What were we going to talk to him about? By the way, bing. That's what I was looking. One of the things I was looking for. One of the things I was looking for was this. So you guys are kind of there. What else, guys?
Try to have him understand that even though he can't control his Ohana situation or where he's at, he can control his Hana and make that better.
He can absolutely, because this is, what do we know about his Hana? It's the only thing that he has a choice. It's the only thing he has a choice over. He can't control this. We said that last time we talked about him. He can't control these elements, but he has a choice, which is what? What's another idea that we could throw out at it? What other thing? Come on.
Along the lines of what, Kuma? What do you mean?
Yeah.
What are you looking
Choice.
for?
Or just give me anything. We're piecing this puzzle together. This puzzle will fill this board. I guarantee you.
Well, I was thinking like him and his grandma need to ho'oponopono.
I would absolutely say that. There might be something because he's not really wanting to. I would definitely say that could be. Yes, ho'oponopono. Let's consider it. It's something that we've brought in our toolbox and looked down and says ho'oponopono. Maybe he needs to have ho'oponopono with his parents. So you bring him into the correctional custody institution and see if they'll do something. Anything else?
I said to come up with solutions with his guardian, his grandma. So
Okay.
like maybe work out a way where he doesn't feel overwhelmed that he's doing all the chores, or that instead of like having the field trip to the correctional center be so tedious, like if there's a better way that they can work that out.
That ho'oponopono will definitely involve reconnecting his parents. You got to make that right because he's separated. And maybe they'll come back, maybe, but it's that ability or that desire, like you had said, Nainoa, that he's feeling. You did a nice narrative analysis of this kid, not really in the context of this class, but in the context of his situation, about feeling like he needs some surrogacy in his family because he doesn't have a functioning family. But in that case, when we talk about functional families, what do we talk about? Or just, how about throw some more ideas down? Yes, we're going to reconnect through this whole process. You mentioned solutions, but at the same time, when we're talking solutions, we're talking problems. Solutions. We have to know what's happening. Algorithm. You, him, whatever. Let's lay it out. Give it the solution. Then what?
We have to think of ways to empower him.
How?
Change it from that external locus control where he's blaming everyone or everything around him and making it about what he can do. Or
he definitely is. He's young. He feels like all these forces are pushing him around. They're abandoning him, kind of leaving him a little bit helpless. He's feeling that surrogacy that Nainoa was talking about. Where is he getting his family from right now?
His friends.
His gang. And that's not atypical. Even when they're having functional families, they drift out and they form little groups or gangs. And this isn't particularly good, especially when you start dabbling in the money side. These friends with money, older friends, we may have an issue. I hung around with older guys, but we were getting stoned, but we definitely weren't selling dope. Problem solution algorithm locus. Thank you, Mr. Asa. We need him to understand he has his own problems that he can solve with his mana making choices. Maybe it's the choices that he needs to take a look at. What else?
Well, I talked about like him having to do like self-reflection. So like asking him questions that would like help go along the lines of his choice.
Yeah, that is absolutely sort of like a talk therapy. Have him. That's also empowering. That one we probably could have said even before this class, right? Definitely before this class. I'd say, hey, you need to sit down and think about what you're doing. Okay? So you're saying he's talking about chores. Where have we seen chores in this class? You had a problem here with chores and kuleana. Where did that show up in this class?
The story about the first one.
Oh, very much. Kuleana. I would definitely say this one. But we also seen chores over here too. This guy. This is about responsibility. Is he in this kind of situation?
Yeah.
He's in the crisis situation. He's over on this side. His whole canoe flipped over, but everybody still has kuleana. Because the whole idea is to restore it, like you were saying, Christina. That whole pono. Let's write this thing and let's get it moving again. Right? That's what we're trying to do. Ho'okahi va'a. That whole proverb right there. That this is about restoring family. That's what this is about. We'll restore family. Maybe if you're talking like, hey, this canoe thing, like you may be in a situation, but in a story form. Any other things we could introduce? What else?
I talked about spiritually. I mean, from the readings, admired that it's a Hawaiian custom for prayer, and maybe you don't have to pray with him or spiritually.
By the way, if they start the prayer, it's all good. Pray with them. I mean, if you're into it, I'm saying if you move in that direction, the difficulty we have in the power differential, so you're kind of bringing up that power differential, is we don't want to force particularly an activity in a public school, at least. In a private school, St. Louis, you're all going to pray. Not only that, you might have to go and pray the rosary. But in this spiritually, what we're looking to do is basically it sort of comes right into this ho'oponopono idea. Okay? Any other things? Family, any other things? Proverb-wise?
Oh, I brought up the don't fear the work, fear being lazy.
Oh, don't fear the work. Right here, all under this hana, don't fear the work. I'm going to write that in maybe blue here. Don't fear the work. My maka'u, don't fear the work. It's going to take my maka'u kahana. Right there. My maka'u, that hana. Don't fear it. What's another one that substantiates this idea? We'll put it right maybe here. Yes, I am still not an artist. What is that, guys?
Is that the hey might of?
Hey, might of. This is the banana. We have to let them know, or maybe in this particular story, that we're only going to do this if we do it together. It's about sticking together. It's about sticking together. Sticking together. Making the right choices about who you hang around. Knowing that that is your control, as long as we don't fear the work that will be entailed in this process. Any other things that we can mention?
I know I used the one about don't wait until your teeth fall out.
Don't. I mean, that's kind of down here. I mean, you're going to try to develop this idea, this solution plan that you mentioned over here. But let's start now. My Kali. My Kali Apau. Don't wait till your teeth fall out. My Kali Apau. What else? What about this gang thing, guys? That's kind of concerning because that's the strongest influence he has right now. What about it? What are we going to do with that?
I would say, what did I say? I said that I would go with the green. I would acknowledge that he has friends.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would share with him that his choice in friends is a direct reflection on his character.
And as Nainoa said, it's a reflection of your family too. You start making these weird choices, your family is going to start to look a little odd. Yes, your choices.
I would ask him to explain to me how his friends are like him, because he says that they're like me, and I would ask him how.
Okay.
I would ask him if he can share if they have the same values as him.
You can scrutinize these friends. I think that's not an unreasonable approach. But we want to focus on him. He's following their path. Anything we could throw at him to say, hey, why don't you follow your own path? Anything tells us that? Follow your own path. Which one are we talking, guys? Follow your own path. Don't follow other people's path. Oh, come on. I thought that would give it away. Follow your own. Look at that toolbox, guys. Follow your own path. What are we talking?
The Keahi, Hina Keahi.
Hina Keahi. That's the one that's going to get him out of a game, or that's the one I want him to think about. He has his own mana. Is it in very much the same way, Christina? Is he tagging for that surrogacy? We're going to try to work on getting that family together. He needs to take care of his kuleana, even though he might not like it. Even though he might not like those chores. That's kind of his responsibility at this point in time. Don't fear that work, but follow your path. Follow your mana, not their mana. In fact, this kid, I pulled that gangster shot off his MySpace page. He used to come over my house all the time, that kid. And when I saw that picture, I just pulled it off. I saved it. Right? I said, whoa. Just pulled it. I saved it. I set aside. When he came over to the house, I said, bro, I saw a picture of you where you were kind of flashing your red color, the red. Yeah. Oh, are you involved with the Bloods? I said, yeah. I'm not going to question his reasoning. I mean, a lot of people are in it because of the fact that they want family surrogacy, like we're kind of thinking here. Some do it kind of for protection, because he was in high school. He was a sophomore in high school at the time. And then ended up, I said, bruh, this is the scoop. If you want to be in the gang, if you want to survive in a gang, then you have to be the baddest ass in that gang. Or you have to pretty much hold your weight. And what does that mean to me? Everything I told him, everything I do is counter to what gangs are doing. I'm on the other side of the fence of gangs. So you will need to choose. Are you on their side of the fence, or you're on my side of the fence? And you got to commit. And how do I know if you're committed? Simple. If the head of that gang that you're a part of points a gun at my head, you have to reach over and pull that trigger. If you can't do it, you're on the wrong side of that fence. Because I'm not into that. And if you're going to be in my circle, then I need to know that you're not on that side of the fence. That night, all those pictures disappeared off his MySpace. But in the end, it said, so my last question, because we only have a few more minutes, and I want to show you a super cool video, short one. The last question that I ask is, can you provide any guidance or encouragement? Oh, wait. What kind of cultural role model might you be able to describe for him to emulate? Tell me about him. He's 15 years old. What about him again? He is the oldest brother of all his siblings because he takes care of them. Anybody we can emulate?
Hello.
He is Haloa. He is him. All you have to do is say, hey, I got a story. I know the oldest brother. I know that he met his kuleana, which got him his kulana. He did it. He fed his family in a rough time until everything starts getting fixed up. Then, you know, you can reduce your responsibilities when things are in a good time. But in this particular case, it's all up to you. Your siblings rely on you, the oldest sibling. That's why he's the hiaku. He is the haloa. So you just tell him, hey, I got a story. And then you tell him, brah, that's you. That's you. One of the other stories about this kid that was interesting, and if you run into a kid, or any kid that seems like they're on the edge, as long as you can make a bond with them and they trust you. But I remember his mother told me, she goes, he called me an F&B. I mean, but she used the words. And I said, what? This kid, the reason why I was kind of like, wow, this kid, he was so respectful. It blew me away for like a 14-year-old. He was super respectful, super polite. And then his mother says, hey, yeah. She says, where is he over your house? Yeah, he's cruising over here. Is that okay? You need to go home. You didn't have homework, blah, blah, blah. He says, no. I says, can you talk to him? I said, talk to him about what? Well, he disrespects me. Does he? You're kidding. She says, yeah, he like calls me the F word and stuff. I said, wow, that's amazing. So whenever you're in that situation, I tell you, I've been in it a few times. This is what you do. You say, okay, we'll have a meeting. Not really a ho'oponopono. So his mom, I, and this kid sat down. And I explained to him, hey, bro, do you trust me? You always you attach to the kid, so it's inseparable. Right there, the three of you, I'm just interested in reconnecting with this kid or reconnecting with him. I said, bro, you trust me? And he said, yeah. Because I said, I trust you. Have I ever lied to you? No. Have you ever lied to me? No, I didn't think you ever lied to me. I trust you. However, your mom tells me or describes to me a person that I don't know. She says, this person, this son disrespects her. This son calls her an F&B. I I don't know whether I can believe her or not, because I don't know you that way at all. My question is that you, your mother describes, or do I know who you are? Do I know you, or do I not know you? I know you. We're breaking up here. And that's all I asked. Who's the real you? The one your mother describes or the one that I know? Of course he's going to say the one that I know. And then you say that I need you to be this way with your mom from now on. You're the man of the family. You're the oldest. You need to be that way around your mother. You need to take care of your mom. And that's kind of the big story. That's sort of it. But the whole idea is that these are tools, and this storyline here is just a way to apply all the things that we may or may not have really understood in this class. Now, outside, setting this whole idea aside, hollow and everything, I want to show you one video. The number one indicator of a healthy kid doing well in school that will be successful is what? Is a healthy family. The number one thing that indicates what makes a family healthy is try watch this video. Can you guys hear it? Oh, that's so funny. Okay, on that positive note, any questions here?
What's the outcome of the kid?
That kid still has problems. He drifted out of my circle. His mom didn't allow him to live. He stayed at my house probably about a month ago. He's older. He's tatted out. He just made some choices that I couldn't. I would have liked to said it. He turned out okay, but it wasn't from a lack of effort. He's a good kid. He's still the most polite kid I know. He's still super respectful. Just had some choices. Right? He certainly did not get to sit down and have dinner with his family very often. Good question. I'm kind of concerned. He never came back to the house, so you know. I was going to have him come on here. He's all tatted. He's a big tattoo guy. Anyway, I'm 5 minutes over. Christina, you asked what was with the kukui nut and the tie.
Yeah.
Why? What's up with the kukui nut and the tie?
Well, you have a story, probably about the lace, probably from your uncle.
No, it's
your intention.
It's only because I respect you guys, and on every last class of every class I teach, I wear a tie because you guys are the boss. I just come here and share the stuff that people share with me. I completely learn a lot, especially you guys write a ton, and so keeping up with your writing But the tie just reminds me that you're the boss. Like I come my last day of class, it's like an interview. And I just hope it was valuable time that you guys had. I know they don't usually make you spend 90 minutes out of 10,000, good guess, Christina, 10,000 minutes to do this. I just really, we have a lot at stake. But I often say there's a lot that we could gain in the absence of which there's a lot we can lose. So just grab your tools, run like the wind. I'll be posting these notes. It'll be the last notes. I think a lot of you guys. Well, I don't want to take any more of your time. But Lydia, your ISB, you might need to do your ISB if you're going to do your sort of survey with your students, whether those audible beats. But I'll cover all that. Veganism, I want to talk what I know about. Maybe we'll talk later. So anyway, that's how this wrapped. Almost everything we've done in this class applies to this kid. I was looking for it. I know some of you guys gave great ideas. My metrics is only this. If your response sounds like something that you could have said before ever taking this class, it's all valid. But then it tells me the tools, you're not looking at the tools. We're hoping the tools get used. Outside of that, but everybody, it's the way I look right now, there's nobody not getting an A. This is the first time. Everybody is so into 90% that there's no way anybody could drop out. But just make sure you do the last write-up for this meetup. Submit. I'm going to have an extra credit one where I'm going to show you all these cool little videos like that dinner video. I like that one. But it is an indicator. Question, yes, Sylvia.
Kino ole.
Oh, yes, thanks. Wow, thank you very much. What does it mean, guys? Kino ole, tell me.
Doing the right thing.
Doing the right thing?
In the right way.
In the right way?
All the time, the first time.
Kino ole only means without blemish. But people give it a meaning that it doesn't have. But it's a nice sounding. If you type that in Google, click images, you'll get everybody says the same thing. Somebody creates that culture. The right thing at the right time in the right way. No, Kino ole means blemish-free, without blemish. We don't have to dress it up. We don't have to reinvent culture. That Kino ole was supposed to be part of South Park. People invent culture. We don't need to. It's deep enough as it is. We just got to not let go of it. Darn, Lydia, that's extra points for remembering that before I say goodbye. Okay. I appreciate all you guys. I respect all you guys. Pass my aloha to your students and or your families in Ohana. Congratulations, Wahilo, for your getting married over this period of time. Okay, I get to see how you guys. Hey, by the way, this is we're all in this canoe. If later on you guys need anything, you got my email. If you want to build more on your game, or you want to build more on your nutritional, I got a ton of nutritional stuff. If you want, I know those audible beats. What do you call them? Those binaural beats. Yeah. But any of your projects, if you want, I'm here. It doesn't stop here. Just staying up Saturday night doing this is pretty much not, does it? Okay, you guys? I had a great time this session.
Thank you.
Stay on if you have any questions. Stay on. I'll stay if you need to talk to me. And if everybody's gone, then I'll shut my my recording off. We'll talk soon, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night. Bye-bye.
Hey, you guys.
Bye.
All right, good night.
Bye.